So now, before we have a quick break, we have a special guest visitor all the way from the UK. And Nigel, let me just move Dermot out of the way. Dermot number 2. Nigel, as I said, is our guest from the Thames Valley, and he won the Speaker Factor competition, which is the 5-minute talk that new members can do as part of the competition. And he then got through to the final at Mega, as he told us at breakfast this morning. That gave him then an opportunity to be seen by people who then gave him a speaking gig yesterday for €1,200 here in Ireland. Isn't it funny? We all better move to England because it seems that they bring in all the overseas speakers and pay them from here. But thank God we've got a man talking later on who's going to give us some advice how to overcome that one. So let me introduce our next speaker, hopefully. Well, or his workshop, but I'll tell you about that later too. Nigel Biggs has had a career as a software engineer, an entrepreneur, and an innovation consultant. He is entrepreneur in residence at the University of Surrey and runs workshops on creative thinking in organisations. Today, his talk is entitled, Don't Be Scared. Please give a very warm welcome all the way from Thames Valley PSA, Nigel Biggs.
Thank you. I'm riding a bike just like the big boys and crash! I fall off. It hurts. I cry. I'm 5 years old. My dad helps me back up on the bike. Don't be scared, he said. And 2 wobbly rides later, and I could ride a big boy's bike. Don't be scared. How many of you have said that to anyone? Your children, perhaps? Newbies at the PSA? Don't be scared. We say it, but we don't say how. In my teens, I was in the Scouts and we went abseiling. Don't be scared, they said. Ha! It's really scary hanging by one rope and standing on the brink and looking back over the edge. At 21, I got married. I wasn't scared then, but I should have been. In my 30s, I helped my kids get on their bike. And then, at 40, I had my midlife crisis. I so wanted to start my business, but I was scared to leave my job. And then I heard my dad's voice one day. Don't be scared. And then 2 new words arrived. Care and dare. And that's when I realised you have to care, really care, about whatever it is you want to do or want to achieve. You have to care enough to dare enough to turn fear into action. I did start my business. I also got divorced. Very scary. And then, in my late 40s, I stood on the brink once again, but this time of bankruptcy. My wife and I, one dark night just before Christmas, we sat on the floor. We cuddled and we cried. We cried a lot that night. We said, don't be scared. We cared about our 10 staff. We cared about our large mortgage. And somehow we dared to continue, and we survived and followed through. And then in my late 50s, after some glorious years, I was a paper millionaire. Until the business went over the brink and into freefall below. I was asked to leave the company I had founded. Scared? Scared? I was livid for months and months until I heard my dad's voice again. Don't be scared. Care for your family. Dare to start again. And so in my 60s, I started my current job, my current business, Passionate Innovation. There are so many people with great ideas who are scared to share them, let alone try them out. I imagine there's many of you here who have great ideas for new talks. Don't be scared. Go for it. Do it. You may well fall off and crash at first, but get back on the bike and just learn the lessons. So I would finish with this ode. Don't be scared to try out new things. Don't be scared to crash and learn. Don't be scared to face disaster. Don't be scared to cry and yearn. Care enough to drive you onwards. Dare enough to do or die. Don't be scared of all the faces. Be inspired and say, you'll try. Thank you.
Nigel, thank you very much. What I'd like to just do for a couple of minutes now is to get some advice or answer some questions for 5 minutes or so from Nigel for people who are thinking about what does it take to create your Speaker Factor speech. What tips would you give to new associates who are thinking about entering the Speaker Factor?
One, do it, okay?
Yeah.
Say yes, because it's a new experience and well worthwhile. I only had 4 weeks' notice of it, which helped, actually, but I wrote it and then had to cram it down and down and down, and that was very hard, getting rid of bits that I thought were very valuable. One very valuable bit, in hindsight, I had to cut, was the word scared, has C-A-R-E, absolutely at the heart of it. And I've used that in talks since. If you're scared, just look at the word, and care is right in the middle. Okay, so I had to cut and cut.
And how long did that take you to actually edit it all down?
2 or 3 weeks continually. I've got 19 versions on my laptop, and in some of those I didn't always count, changing it. But that wasn't that meant I had to get it down. I rehearsed it. I filmed myself, but then I got help from Tiffany Kemp, who was the president at Thames Valley. And she listened and she made some suggestions, but she said, your breathing's rubbish. And it is, I have a lung problem anyway, okay? And then, by the way, an aside I thought of doing is not to throw myself on the floor because you lose some sight lines. Also, when you're old, it takes the breath out of you, getting back up again. And watch for breathing. She gave me real breathing advice. And that was only then. And I do it sometimes, but I forget mostly, breathing from down here. So much better if I talk like that and breathe low than up here when I'm not thinking about it. And not used to that. So that was important. That made a difference. The other bit was when I'm talking, I did move around a bit because in timelines you tend to want to show people the time. And the 30s was deliberately to get back to the other side of the stage to give me room. And I tried, at each key point, she said, get grounded. So just take a second or two to just get grounded again and then hit the next bit. Okay? And that really helped because there's a bit of your brain telling you all these things. The other bit of the brain, I remember at the final bit of Mega Main Stage, I was in the middle of it and there's a bit of this going, what the hell's the next bit? I remember, I think, what? So that was very important. Breathing, grounding, and the best lesson of all, be you. Be true to you, your feelings, not other speakers, not learn from bits and pieces they do. Be you, and that's helped me hugely.
And I think that the interesting thing is that the experience for you, and I was talking with Alec about it, when you do the first session in the competition, and there's the 11 of you or 12 of you from the branches, you're in a room this
just
size,
like this.
But then suddenly, if you get through to the last 5 in the final, you've got a main stage.
200 speakers.
With 200 speakers. So you've got to be able to show in the heats that this space that you have opportunity to use staging, to be able to use the whole size of the stage, because the people I think who were more stuck in the centre, and Alec, we were having this conversation as well. Again, we've got a great resource here, both from Alec and from Eamon, who did it the year before, I think, as well. Or a couple of people did it the year before. Anyway, and this is what somebody. Right, please, no, not this one, the other one.
Some musician.
Who was it the year before?
Ronan.
Oh, it was Ronan. Of course it was Ronan. And then he sang, yes, then he sang later in the evening. But this is what we were talking about at breakfast of what staging is. It's having those areas on the stage, and 25% of the marks are for the staging, aren't they?
Oh, there's
and for the
that. Yes.
props.
Oh, one reason I didn't win it, the feedback from Alan Stevens and the team was I was too melodramatic. Okay, and that was true, actually.
How could they say that?
But I tend to be. But that was a big learning. I still do stuff for some of the talks I do. I'm still brave enough at the after dinner speaking. I actually got them doing head and shoulders, knees and toes. I used to run campfires and things, so I'm willing to risk it. But for that talk, I did go over the top a little bit, and that probably lost me some marks.
But I think, yeah, there was. It was the best. I was going to say the best prop was actually the bike handle.
Yes, I couldn't bring that over.
We actually had a bell built in
yes,
and everything.
yeah.
I think most of the people who did really well had the good props. So if you've got one prop as your prop, make it a good one. Because there was somebody else who had a prop and it was a little bit irrelevant, I found myself, and they didn't get through either. But by the way, it's a great kudos to have got to be in Speaker Factor and to be able to be there in front of nearly every person. There were at least 100 odd people crammed into a room, not much bigger than this, standing room.
For the semi-finals, yeah.
So for the semi-finals, to get to be there and speak to all of those people that get to see you. And Alec, you made great connections there yourself as well. So any other questions before we take a quick break? Yes.
I thought how it flowed was just incredible. And you mentioned there that you almost froze.
Yes, because I was thinking.
How do you memorize? How did you memorize it? Because it's.
I practiced a lot. For 5 minutes, you got no option really, because it kept changing. It kept bringing it down and bringing it down. But I read it, and I just last night just made sure I remembered it and got it right. And didn't trip up much. Okay, but it's just practice for the 5 minutes. I normally do workshops. I do not have to worry about absolute words and time. Okay, normally.
Is mind mapping, or you just?
No. Initially I just brain dumped the lot down. For the after dinner talk I did on Monday, first time other than my daughter's wedding, I wrote everything I thought I was going to say, and it was 45 minutes when I read it. So you have to just do the cutting down and then work on it, and then I just got it down to bullet points. And I put them on the table when they asked me to speak, and I never needed to look at them. You just, because you adjust as you talk.
I think strange enough as well, Nigel, you talked about over 2 or 3 weeks and about 17 or 18 drafts. I was the same. There must have been about 12 or 14 hours of rehearsal for 5 minutes.
Yeah, lots of rehearsal.
Jesus, that's unbelievable, just for 5 minutes.
Yeah, it's harder. Well, like in all things, Winston Churchill said, sorry about this as being a long letter, I didn't have time for a short one, to send you a short one. It's harder to do a short thing than a long one.
Because you've literally 5 minutes, you're working at a time, and if you step outside that time, you're
for the semi-final, they were absolutely rigid. Yes, for the final, they a bit too late by then. They said, oh, it's not quite so bad. Okay.
Yeah. But with the timing, if you are over 5 minutes, you're penalised. If you don't use 4.5 minutes at least, you're penalised. So if you're way too short, then you get penalised there as well.
And the one lesson, that joke I did, which was, I'm not a jokey person.
Put some humour.
Yeah, and it just came at Thames Valley. I discovered it when I said I'm 21. I wasn't scared then, but I should have been. It got a reasonable laugh at Thames Valley. It brought the house down in the semi-finals, much to my surprise, such that I had to wait a few seconds for it to die down, and my brain's going, you can't wait, you're going to run over 5 minutes. You know? And I had to cut, if there's a bit of video somewhere, I had to cut into the laughter, and so you have to, but for the final, I should have been, and there was a bit of a titter. Yeah. No, that's a bit much, because they'd all heard it before. Most had heard it before. So you never quite know what's going to happen. You have to react.
I think the main point is do it. If you're new to the PSA or you didn't enter last year, do it, whether you're an associate or a professional member, because it's a great experience. And our final will be that date in July don't worry, you can go out and get pushed afterwards with our summer party. So we'll have the competition, venue and everything to be arranged.
Could I just give 4
Yes.
seconds of feedback?
Please do.
Please do.
I'm sure you'll take this in the manner which was given. I'd be scared to follow you on stage because that was brilliant. Yeah, it was brilliant. It was brilliant. Yeah. I'm using it as a metaphor, but it was brilliant. Well done.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Very good. So a big hand for Nigel. So what we have coming up next is a very special workshop event. So what I'd like to do, because we started a little bit late at the top of the day, John has requested, John O'Gorman, our newest, one of our new members as well, is doing a workshop session. He's requested that we move all the chairs back and we bring the flip charts in front of the chairs. I don't know what's going to happen, but apparently we're all going to be on our feet and doing some stuff.
Yeah, could I?
Yes,
could I
please
just,
do.
Maybe help with the instructions. If the tables could go to the side, and if we could have a flip chart here, one in the corner, one in this corner, and one in this corner. So there's going to be groups working in 4s. Yeah, but you can set up a circle of seats to start off with. Yeah, just kind of like a half circle here.
Horseshoe, yeah.
Horseshoe. Is that okay?
Yep.
Yeah.
Great.
Inside the tables.
Tables are pushed out.
Yeah, outside. Yeah. Yeah. Yes.
And then coffee is, there's more coffee and tea next door. We've got some biscuits in the box and flapjacks and things there. So a little treat for us now. And we'll come back together in literally 5 minutes or so would be fantastic. Thank you very much. Quick loo break. We'll have another break after. Brilliant.
I know.
Oh, the tables are on wheels.